Hello, guys and gals, and this is part 36 of our reading of the Harvard Classics. And the Harvard Classics are composed of the Apology, Phaedo, and Credo of Plato, translated by Benjamin Jowett, the Golden Sayings of Epictetus, translated by Hastings Crossley, and the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, translated by George Long, edited by Charles W. Elliott, LLD, with introduction and notes. And we're going to go over the copyright information, which is... It's copyright 1980, 1937, and 1907 by Grolier Enterprises Corporation, manufactured in the United States. Now, we are still on the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius. Let's see where we left off. Okay. Yeah. Here we go. Let's go back to number 28. Imagine every man who is grieved of anything or discontented to be like a pig which is sacrificed and kicks and screams. Like the pig also is he who on his bed is silent, laments the bonds in which he are beheld. And wait a minute, is this right? 28. Yeah, this has to be right. I'm just double checking something right here. 15. Yeah, 29. Okay, got it. Okay, this is right. Sorry. Okay. Imagine every man who is grieving at anything or discontented to be like a pig which is sacrificed and kicks and screams. Like the pig also is he who on his bed is silent, laments the bonds in which we are held, and consider that only to the rational animal it is given to follow voluntarily what happens, but simply to follow it is necessity imposed on all. Okay. Okay, yeah, okay, that's right. Now number 29. Severally on the occasion of everything, and thou dost pause and ask thyself if death is a dreadful thing, because it deprives thee of this. Number 30. When thou art offended at any man's fault, forthwith turn to thyself and reflect in what like manner thou dost err thyself. For example, in thinking that money is a good thing or pleasure or a bit of reputation and the like, for by attending to this thou wilt quickly forget thy anger. If this consideration also is added that the man is compelled, for what else could he do? Or if thou art able, take away from him the compulsion. Number 31. When thou hast seen Satyron and Satyron the Socratic, think of either Euryx or Hymen, and when thou hast seen Euphrates, think of Eutychion or Sylvanus. And when thou hast seen Alciphron, think of Tropophorus. And when thou hast seen Zephyron, think of Credo or Severus. And when thou hast looked on thyself, think of any other Caesar. And in the case of every one, do in like manner. Then let his thought be in thy mind. Where then are these men? Nowhere, or nobody knows where. For thus continuously thou wilt look at human things as smoke, and nothing at all, especially if thou reflectest at the same time that what has once changed will never exist again in the infinite duration of time. But thou, in what a brief space of time is thy existence? And why art thou not content to pass through this short time in an orderly way? What matter and opportunity for thy activity art thou avoiding? For what else are all these things except exercise for the reason, when it has viewed carefully and by examination into their nature the things which happen in life. Persevere then until thou shalt have made these things thy own. As the stomach, which is strengthened, makes all things its own, as the blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it. Number 32. Let it not be in any man's power to say truly of thee that thou art not simple, or that thou art not good. But let him be a liar who ever shall think anything of this kind about thee. And this is altogether in thy power. For who is he that shall hinder thee from being good and simple? Do thou only determine to live no longer unless thou shalt be such. For neither does reason allow thee to live if thou art not such. Number 33. What is that which, as to this material, our life, can be done or said in the way most conformable to reason? For whatever done or said in this way, for whatever this may be, it is in thy power to do it or to say it. And do not make excuses that thou art hindered. Thou wilt not cease to lament, still thy mind is in such a condition that what luxury is to those who enjoy pleasure, such shall be to thee in the matter which is subjected and presented to thee, and doing of the things which are conformable to man's constitution. For a man ought to consider as an enjoyment everything which it is in his power to do according to his own nature. And it is in his power everywhere. Now, it is not given to a cylinder to move everywhere by its own motion, nor yet to water, nor to fire, nor to anything else which is governed by nature or an irrational soul. For the things which check them and stand in the way are many, but intelligence and reason are able to go through everything that opposes them, and in such manner as they are formed by nature and as they choose. By nature and as they choose. Okay. Place before your eyes this faculty with which the reason will be carried through all things as fire upwards, as a stone downwards, as a cylinder down an inclined surface, and seek for nothing further. For all other obstacles either affect the body only, which is a dead thing, or except through opinion and the yielding of the reason itself, they do not crush nor do any harm of any kind. For if they did, he who felt it would immediately become bad. Now in the case of all things which have a certain constitution, whatever harm may happen to any of them, that which is so affected becomes consequently worse. But in the like case, a man becomes both better, if one may say so, and more worthy of praise by making a right use of those accidents. And finally, remember that nothing harms him who is really a citizen, which does not harm the state, nor yet does anything harm the state which does not harm law, order. And of these things which are called misfortunes, not one harms law, which then does not harm law, does not harm either state or citizen. Number 34. Number 34. To him who is penetrated by true principles, either the briefest precept is sufficient, and any common precept, to remind him that he should be free from grief and fear. For example, leaves some of the wind scatters on the ground. So is the race of men. Leaves also are thy children, And leaves too are they who cry out as if they were worthy of credit and bestow their praise or on that contrary curse, or secretly blame and sneer the leaves in like manner, are those who shall receive and transmit a man's fame to after times. For all such things as these are produced in the season of spring, as the poet says, then the wind casts them down, then the forest produces other leaves in their place. But a brief existence is common to all things, and yet thou avoidest and pursuest all things as if they would be eternal. A little time, and thou shalt close thy eyes, and him who has attended thee to thy grave, another soon will lament. Number 35. The healthy eye ought to see all visible things and not to say, I wish for green things, for this is the condition of a diseased eye. And the healthy hearing and smelling ought to be ready to perceive all that can be heard and smelled. And the healthy stomach ought to be with respect to all food, just as the mill with respect to all things, which it is formed to grind. And accordingly, the healthy understanding ought to be prepared for everything which happens. But that which says, let my dear children live, and let all men praise whatever I may do, is an eye which seeks for green things, or teeth which seeks for soft things. Brilliant. Number 36. There is no man so fortunate as that there shall not be by him when let me try this one again. The wording here is tricky. Number 36. There is no man so fortunate that there shall not be by him when he is dying some who are pleased with what is going to happen. Suppose that he was a good and wise man. Will there not be at least someone to say to himself, let us at last breathe freely, being relieved from this schoolmaster? It is true that he was harsh to none of us, but I perceive that he tacitly tactily condemns us. This is what is said of a good man. But in our own case, how many other things are there for which there are many who wish to get rid of us? Thou wilt consider that then when thou art dying, and thou wilt depart more contentedly by reflecting thus, I am going away for such a life, in which even my associates, in behalf of whom I have striven so much, prayed and cared themselves, wish me to depart, hoping perchance to get some little advantage by it. Why then should a man cling to a longer stay here? Do not, however, for this reason go away less kindly disposed to them, but preserving thy own character, and friendly and benevolent and mild, and on the other hand, not as if thou wast torn away, but as when a man dies a quiet death. The poor soul is easily separated from the body. Such also ought thy departure from men to be. For nature united thee to them and associated thee. But does she now dissolve the union? Well, I am separated as from kinsmen, not. However, dragged, resisting, but without compulsion. For it too is one of the things according to nature. Number 37. Accustom thyself as much as possible on the occasion of anything being done by any person to inquire with thyself for what object is this man doing thee. But begin with thyself and examine thyself first. Number 38. Remember that this which pulls the strings is the thing which is hidden within. This is the power of persuasion. This is life. This, if one may so say, is man. The contemplating the contemplating thyself, never including the vessel which surrounds thee, and these instruments which are attached about thee. For they are like to an axe, differing only in this, that they grow to the body. For indeed, there is no more use in in these parts, without the cause which moves and checks them, than in the the weaver's shuttle, and the writer's pen, and the driver's whip. Number 9, chapter 9 rather. These are the properties of the rational soul. It sees itself, analyzes itself, and makes itself such as it chooses. The fruit which it bears itself enjoys. For the fruits of plants and that of in animals, which correspond to fruits others enjoy, it obtains its own end whenever the limit of life may be fixed, not as in a dance and in a play and in such like things, where the whole action is incomplete, if anything cuts it short, but in every part and wherever it may be stopped, it makes what has been set before it full and complete, so that it can say, I have what is my own. And further it traverses the whole universe and the surrounding vacuum, and surveys in forms and in form, and it extends itself into the infinity of time, and embraces and comprehends the periodical renovation of all things, and it comprehends that those who come after us will see nothing new, nor have those before us seen anything more, but in a manner he who is 40 years old, if he has any understanding at all, has seen by virtue of the uniformity that prevails all things, which has been and all that will be. This too is a property of the rational soul, love of one's neighbor, and truth and modesty, and to value nothing more than itself, which is also the property of law. Thus, then, right reasons differs not at all from the reason of justice. Number 2. Thou wilt set little value on pleasing song and dancing, and that pancratium. If thou wilt distribute the melody of the voice into this several sounds, and ask thyself as to each, if thou art mastered by this, for thou wilt be prevented by shame from confessing it. And in the matter of dancing, if at each movement and attitude thou wilt do the same, and the like. Also in the matter of the pancratium, in all things, then, except virtue and the act of virtue, remember to apply thyself and their several parts, and by this division to come to value them little, and apply this rule also to thy whole life. Number 3. What a soul that is which is ready, if at any moment it must be separated from the body, and ready either to be extinguished or dispersed, or continue to exist, but so that this readiness comes from a man's own judgment, not from mere obstinacy, as with the Christians, but considerately and with dignity, and in a way to persuade another without tragic show. Number 4. Have I done something for the general interest? Well, then, I have had my reward. Let this always be present to thy mind, and never stop doing such good. Okay, number 5. What is thy art? To be good? And how is this accomplished? And how is this accomplished well? Except by general principle, some about the nature of the universe, and others about the proper constitution of man. Number 6. Wow, this one's long. At first, tragedies were brought on the stage as means of reminding men of the things which happened to them, and that it is according to nature for things to happen so, and that if you are delighted with what is shown on the stage, you should not be troubled with that which takes place on the larger stage. For you see that these things must be accomplished thus, and that even they bear them who cry out, O Citheron, and indeed some things are said well by the dramatic writers, of which kind is the following especially. Me and my children, if the gods neglect, this has its reason too. And again, we must not chafe and fret at that which happens. And life's harvest reaps like the wheat's fruitful ear, and other things of the same kind. After tragedy, the old comedy was introduced, which has a magisterial freedom of speech, and by its plainness of speaking was useful in reminding men to beware of insolence. And for this purpose, too, Diogenes used to take from these writers. But as to the middle comedy, which came next, observe what it was, and again for what object the new comedy was introduced, which gradually sunk down into the mere mimic artifice. That some good things are said even by these writers, everyone knows, but the whole plan of such poetry was dramaturgy. To what end does it look? Number 7. How plain does it appear that there is not another condition of life so well suited for philosophizing as this in which thou now happen to be. Number 8. A branch cut off from the adjacent branch must, of necessity, be cut off from the whole tree also. So to a man when he... Excuse me. Still recovering from a cough. But I'm getting better. So let's see. A branch cut off from the adjacent branch must be, by necessity, be cut off from the whole tree. Also, so too a man, when he is separated from another man, has fallen off from the whole social community. Now, as to the branch, another cuts it off, but a man, by his own acts, separates himself from his neighbor, and then when he hates him and turns away from him, and he does not know that he has at the same time cut himself off from the whole social system. Yet he has this privilege, certainly from Zeus, who framed society. For it is in our power to grow again to that which is near to us, and again to become a part which helps to make up the whole. However, if it often happens, this kind of separation it makes it difficult for that which detaches itself to be brought to unity and to be restored to the former condition. Finally, the branch, which from the first grew together with the tree and has continued to have one life with it, is not like that which, after being cut off, is then ingratified, for this is something like what the gardener means. For what the gardeners mean when they say that it grows with the rest of the tree, but that it has not the same mind with it. Number 9. As those who try to stand in the way when thou art proceeding according to right reason, will not be able to turn thee aside from thy proper action. So neither let them drive thee from the benevolent feelings towards them, but be on thy guard equally in both matters. Not only is the matter of steady judgment and action, but also in the matter of gentleness towards those who try to our hinder or otherwise trouble thee. For this also is a weakness, to be vexed at them as well as to be diverted from thy course of action, and to give way through fear. For both are equally deserters from their post. The man who does it through fear, and the man who is alienated from him, who is by nature a kinsman and a friend. We're going to have to stop it here. We have been reading from the Harvard Classics. And there. Oh, I had to put the bookmark back in. There you go. Anyways, we've been reading from the Harvard Classics, and specifically the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius. And if you like this content, make sure you like and subscribe and ring the bell so you know when I upload. Also, want to support me in any way, if you want to join the Discord server, all the information will be in the description below. And as always, thanks for watching, everyone, and have a great day.